So first of all, thank you very much to having time for us. How are you doing tonight?
Good, good so far. We haven't played a note yet.
Okay, okay. Can you spot out some highlights from your clinical tour so far?
The clinic tour?
Yeah.
You mean the Zildjian one I did in the early part of the year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we did, I think, maybe 4 or 5 in Germany. And we went to Italy. I think we went. Where did we go? Maybe we went to Austria. I don't know. I lose sight. I've done 3 tours with Zildjian in less than a year.
Okay.
The first one we went to Southeast Asia, and we did 10 shows in 9 countries.
Okay.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Okay.
So we did a lot of travelling.
Yeah, a lot of travelling.
A lot of travelling.
Okay.
And then I just did, last month I did 10 clinics across the United States.
Okay. Okay. How it is compared to this tour you're doing? Is it easier and more time for yourself to watch the cities, have a look around?
Well, this tour is with the band, of course.
Yeah.
Before was a drum clinic, so it's a completely different kind of thing. Yeah, it's nicer to be on stage with other musicians.
Yeah.
It's a bit lonely doing a drum clinic.
Okay.
It depends on the audience reaction if they ask you questions or silly questions, or I don't know what kind of questions. So there's a lot of unpredictability with a drum clinic.
Okay.
With a concert, you know the songs you're going to play in the order you're going to play them, and it's nice because you have other guys on the stage, so it's an interaction.
Okay, okay, cool. First question, we had the chance to have a little talk with your guys on the stage, maybe with the guys which are tuning your drum set. So first question, do you tune your drum as well on your own? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, I like to tune the drums. I like to be in touch with the instrument. I don't want to walk on stage, 5 seconds before the first song, and I didn't see. It's happened before. Sometimes it's been a festival, or we've had to fly, and we arrive half an hour before the show, and my tech has set up everything perfectly, but it feels kind of scary.
Okay.
So I like to spend some time with the drums, to tune the drums. I mean, my tech can do the tuning if I want him to, but I prefer to do it.
Okay, okay, cool. To be a musical drummer, in an older interview you told that, or you talked about that it's sometimes helpful to think like a piano player, for example, or to think like a saxophone player, and not as a drummer. And you said think in phrases. And the question here is, do you also use different moods to figure out some new music? So maybe you sit behind the set in an angry mood or in a happy mood?
No.
Okay.
It's always the same mood.
Always the same mood, okay.
I don't think sitting behind the drums, feeling sad, angry, happy, would really produce something creatively interesting. I mean, your general mood will help you.
Okay.
When we made a Porcupine Tree album in New York, I felt different because I was in Manhattan every day. So there's a general sense of feeling like you're on holiday, or you're enjoying the city. I did a nice album with an Italian artist in Paris, and every day I walk through the centre of Paris to get to the studio. Yeah, it kind of puts you in a different mood, but probably not so different that people would listen to the record and say, wow, Gavin must have walked through the streets of Paris to play like that. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay. So, so we have no example for an album or a song where you can exactly remember it was this mood or this memory of a specific place.
Some days I felt like everything went well.
Okay.
Some days you sit at the drums and everything just works. I can remember the second day of recording In Absentia with Porcupine Tree.
Yeah.
The second day we recorded a song called The Sound of Music, and I sat down to play and everything just felt good. And possibly most of the take you hear is the first take I did on that day. It was just, I don't know, some days it happens about 3 or 4 times a year. I sit at the drums and everything goes perfectly. I don't know why. Sometimes it's a concert, sometimes it's a recording session, sometimes it's just a practice session. But probably your mind is just in the right place in terms of not being distracted, not thinking about an email, not thinking about a parcel being delivered, not thinking about the Geschirrspüler, you know, not
German word.
Where did you get that word from?
Not thinking about, you know, domestic problems or the car won't start, or, you know, there's a lot of distractions that could happen.
Yeah.
Some days you just feel dead right.
Okay.
I wish it was every day.
Okay. Okay.
Agreed.
So after so many years playing, how do you create new ideas?
Well, I don't really have a method, but I know that if I improvise, sometimes something will happen in an improvised session that I can start to recognise something new. Obviously, I'm very familiar with everything I've played before, and the older I get, the catalogue of things I've done before is getting pretty big.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something new, possibly something simple, something that has beauty in it.
Okay.
And it's a mystery. You start to improvise on the drums, and the moment that something new starts to happen, you think, this is the moment of creation.
Yeah.
A spark. Something, it could be something very silly, it could just be a sound, it could be a tiny fraction of a rhythm,
Okay.
something that you didn't do before.
Yeah.
And you think, what was that? Can I do it again? You play it again and you think, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
This is something new. This doesn't sound like me, right? I'm bored of sounding like me. When you see a photograph of yourself and it doesn't look like you're sort of fascinated by it. You think, where's that me? Wow, that's amazing. Wow, I've never looked like that. And so when I play something that doesn't sound like something I've played before, that's really what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll never progress. I'll just always sound like I'm somewhere in a big loop of myself.
Is there which other instrument would you like to be able to play if you were not a drummer?
I'd like to play all of them, really. I mean, my father was a trumpet player. Sometimes I dream about that I'm playing the trumpet and I can hear it. Or sometimes, I'd like to play as many instruments as possible. They would all have their own challenges. I mean, I play the bass, I play the guitar, I play keyboards, all terribly. But enough to start an idea that I could manipulate in a computer, because probably 99 times out of 100, a real bass player will play the part better and with better ideas. But I just want to give a hint of the kind of rhythms that I'm hearing the bass playing with my drumming.
May I come back to the question before where you said that you're sort of tired of or bored of hearing yourself all over again? Is the new stuff that you find, you would consider this as a mistake in the first place, or you're just surprised?
No,
it's through your mind.
It's not a mistake. I'm deliberately trying to not repeat myself. So when you sit down to improvise on the drums, of course, you play lots of things you've played before, sometimes in a new order. Many people play drum solos where they just play their ideas in different orders, and the only real improvisation is the change in the order and the little piece that goes from this bit to this bit. And sometimes this is the most interesting bit. So I'm trying to find the interesting bits, and it's a mystery how and when they come. I can't really force it, but some days I'm more creative than others.
Okay. We have a really interesting question about this. It's considering the brain is separated in two divisions, for example, math or creativity, that correspond to the left and the right body side. So, first, does this have any effect on your playing? Maybe? For example, like one side of the body is trying to follow the math path of the beat, while the other side tries to create a melody.
No, I'm totally unaware of that.
Okay.
I don't feel like my left is going in one way and my right is going in another.
Okay.
I don't feel like I'm split in the middle in two parts of the brain.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that to me.
Okay. Okay. In spite of your setup, is there a system to go out of these patterns, the use of playing all times the same, so that you rearrange your set on new ways to get new creativity, for example? Is there systemically something?
No, I don't move the drums around.
Okay.
I could, and it would probably make me play something a little bit different. You know, playing left-handed will make you play something different.
Yeah.
Playing traditional grip will make you play something different because you'll be feeling different.
Okay.
Moving the drums around doesn't help me. I've had the same basic setup for about 25 years, so I don't have to think where the sounds are. I can play this drum kit with my eyes closed. I know where all the sounds are. I just need to, you know, the inspiration won't come from wearing a funny hat or eating Indian meal or changing the drums round.
Yeah.
It's really deep inside here.
Okay.
It's not something superficial that I could, you know, wake up, put on a yellow t-shirt and a pink hat and suddenly feel, oh, I can play different. I'll move my drums into left-handed position.
Okay.
Yeah, probably I'd play a little bit different, but it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be usefully good.
Okay.
You know, you need to get inspiration from things outside of the drums,
Okay.
like architecture, like design.
Okay.
You know, if you go to a shop that's selling watches, right, and you look, every watch is different. How do they keep coming up with new designs of watches after all these hundreds of years? You look, wow, I've never seen a watch like this before. And it's such a simple idea, right? They all do the same thing. They all tell the time. But there's creative design. And really you have to think about creative design with the drum kit. When you think like a drummer, you play in a square box. You know, you play boom, baff, boom, boom, baff, boom, baff, babba dubba dubba dubba. You know, everything's in little squares of 4, of 8, of 16, with fills that end on a 1, with 16s, with 8s, with triplets. Everything's very mathematical. And you have to think of something else. You can't keep thinking in this little square box.
Okay.
Otherwise you will only come up with variations of a beat and a fill, and a beat and a fill. Mm-hmm. You know, when you think about, I mean, a lot of it is down to your personality, and a lot of it's down to your sense of taste. When I see 100 watches, maybe there's 3 or 4 that I like. When you look at them, it maybe is not the same 3 or 4. It might be 3 or 4 other ones, but that's interesting because it's your personality that decided which 3 or 4 watches you liked out of 100 watches.
Okay.
And that's really, your personality is the thing that will make you play the way you play. Possibly if you took a month off and you went to the Amazonian jungle, when you came back you would play the drums differently. Because something would have happened to your personality when you were doing something else. You know what I mean? When you were stuck in the jungle, your life experience would change. So really, your character and your personality change as your life changes. And now I have a different life than I did 25 years ago. technically, I could play everything I play today. I could have played 25 years ago. I just couldn't think of it 25 years ago.
So that's the red wine scenario again. It
Gets better
by
with age. Well, it gets different with age.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets better, it gets different. And, you know, things happen in your life, and people have children, and parents die, and you move house, and things change in your life, and it affects the way you make music. It affects your character. Okay. I'm not exactly the same character I was when I was 16. Okay. I'm much worse now.
Question about your age at 16. Which musician and which drummer did you admire most when you were 16?
Probably Steve Gadd.
50 Days to Leave Your Lover.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. I never really liked that song, I've got to be honest.
I remember
I never liked it.
It was in the TV, yeah, it was open to everybody to look at. And when he did that little hi-hat solo, my drummer, I'm a bass player, sat next to me and he said, his heart was frozen in this moment. Yeah. And we realized what somebody can do with a hi-hat. We never knew that before. So, and which instrument player? Singer, guitarist, whatever?
Well, I mean, I liked a lot Chet Baker, the jazz trumpet player.
Oh.
Okay.
I still do.
Chris, if you have a very quick last question, because
okay.
then we're done.
Because I've got to go sky jumping.
Yeah.
Okay. One last fun question. One user asked, he heard about gardening. You do some gardening, is that right?
I do a little bit of gardening. I'm not really a gardener.
Okay. Because he asked, how much time can you spend, or how much time is left to do gardening in your spare time? Or to do different things?
How much of your garden is left when you come back from a tour?
I mean, gardening. I cut the lawn, you know, once every couple of weeks, and I enjoy it because it's nothing to do with drumming. It's nothing to do with music. The same with riding a bicycle. Okay. Actually, a weird thing is when I'm actually moving on a bicycle, in a car, on a boat, or in a plane, I have a lot of ideas. And I don't know if that's connected with the idea of actually physically moving, but I always have a lot of ideas when I'm... It doesn't happen when I'm walking. It's only when I'm on a bicycle, a car, or a plane, I start to have ideas. Okay. So sometimes, rather than practice the drums for an hour, it could be more productive to ride the bicycle for an hour.
Okay.
Because this is the thing that needs the food. I don't need to practice for an hour. You know, I can do all that. And I rarely use any of the speed or, you know, chop things that are in my hands. It's only for the articulation of the idea. But the most important thing is the idea. Without the idea, all you've got is a load of silly technique chops, which I've no idea what that sounds like.
So we better get out of here.
Gavin, thank
Great.
you so much for
Thanks.
taking time for us.
Thank you.
All the best for your gig.
Okay,
and
thanks.
your tour.
Thanks very much.